Heyo, it's Deep Convos with Meg and Fran. Welcome back to our podcast. It is episode 13, and we have well, it's not really special. It's just something we're really excited to talk about because, yeah, travel
It's
has been huge.
special. I'm so
Okay, let's call it
excited.
holiday edition. But yeah, it's special for us because we love to travel. We've both have we've both had very different travel experiences, I think, in different contexts. So I think it'll be interesting to see what we both bring to the table. But yeah, today we have a travel life lessons episode for you. Things that we picked up while traveling, life lessons that we learned, things that we're still putting into practice today that were inspired from our days on the road. Getting all Jack Kerouac
Yep.
there. But yeah, so that's what we're going to do today. Kind of just change things up from what we've discussed before. But yeah,
Also, it's like a good little not escape, kind of like a mental escape for people who like necessarily can't really travel very far.
mm-hmm.
Like maybe memories of yore or
Yeah.
plans for the
Actually, that's nice.
future.
Yeah, like because we're all in quarantine, like I'm sure a lot of us are experiencing like just like being stir crazy or having wanderlust right now. So hopefully this episode will inspire you. And I just want to say that travel doesn't have to be this huge thing where you're like traveling like 20 hours across the globe. It can just be like going over to the next town and checking it out or like
Yeah.
checking out a park
Or
that you've
like
never been
like
before.
driving like upstate. I live in New York, like driving upstate to and go hiking. Like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be like going to
Yeah, it doesn't have to
fucking
be crazy. And I know like and I was guilty of this. I would wait until the perfect circumstances. I would say, oh, until I have X amount of money in my bank account, and until I have X situation in my work, then I'll take that big trip. But why? Like just do it. It doesn't have to be big, quote unquote big. Like these travel experiences can be whatever you want it to be. So that's what we're hoping this will inspire for you. So
yay.
yay.
But
Transition.
first, but first, we're gonna do how our weeks were slash glow and grow if you got it. Meg.
Wait, I'm going. Okay, I'll go first. So, since we're talking about travel, for those of you who don't know, Friday, well, okay, let me look at the date real quick. So today is August 2nd. So, and today is Saturday. So,
Oh,
oh
today's
no, today's Sunday.
Sunday.
Shit. So Saturday and Friday, like the 2 days before, sorry, like I have no sense of time anymore. Where it's another Muslim holiday. It's called Eid al-Adha. I'm sorry, Muslim people, if I'm butchering that. But it's basically like, just to give you some context, it's the only sacrificial holiday of the year where it's customary for Muslim families to like get an animal. So like when I witnessed this in Morocco, like people were getting sheep or they would get a goat and they would, like I'm sorry you're vegan, but they would butcher it the halal way and then they would cook all the parts, but then they donate some of the parts to the poor and like to the community. So it's supposed to be like I can't talk, but it's like, how in the Bible when Abraham sacrificed his son to
Yep.
God,
Yeah, yeah.
or he was going to until God was like, never mind, like I just wanted to test your faith.
Yeah. Which is like really rude of God to do.
God was like NVM.
Jesus.
But I think that's like what this holiday is from. And
Yeah.
actually, when I first witnessed this in Morocco was like 2 years ago, and I was a vegetarian then, so it was like kind of rough for me. Um, but yeah, so like this time around, when I went to the park, and speaking of travel, like we went to a park we had never been to before, just in town. It was nice to like get
Where was
out.
it? In town
Uh,
in Leighton?
Layton Commons Park.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like we just never been there before, and it was nice to just get
Do you
out
like
and
it? Can I go? Can you take
yeah,
me?
that's great. It's like it's actually
Okay.
awesome. There's a lot of open space. There's a lot of places to picnic, to barbecue. There's bathrooms, which is like the biggest deal for me. And I'll
Yeah,
talk
you
more
gotta take
about
me
that
there.
when we get into travel. But like
Oh
bathrooms are a huge deal for
shit.
me.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
Constantly
Yeah.
peeing. So it's great. We just did a little barbecue by ourselves and just hung out and yeah. So that's my glow. Grow. I think I just need to sleep more. Like I know y'all know that I'm really into my morning routine, but I think like I need to just take it easy on myself. There was a couple days where it's like I really enjoy my morning routine, don't get me wrong. But there was a couple days this past week where I'm like, I'm just so fucking tired. And yeah, I think I just need to like take it easy a couple days. But yeah, overall,
Yeah.
it was a good week and it was really nice to get out and do a little barbecue yesterday in the
That's
park
nice.
with
I
him done.
love a barbecue. I don't know if I have a. I guess a glow is. Ugh, fuck. Okay, grow is. Grow is. I just need to just trim some projects, like just cut some projects out, or like take a break from them. Because like literally there was, so I have like projects that I do, so I have to meet for them every single night after work. Like I have something. So I actually already cut out one book club. So there was one night of the week, I think I messaged you, I was like, well, let's watch a movie. It's my first night off. That's because I said no to book club because I don't have time. So I guess that's a glow. But the grow is it needs to be more because what?
I was gonna say that I'm really proud of you, and it's a baby step. You
Thanks.
can't
I
cancel
mean,
everything.
I actually would have stayed if I had read the book. I just don't have time to read the book. Um, and I wanted to read it too, which sucks. But the other thing is, but I still need to cut more. I'm in 2 acting classes. I do movement classes like once or twice a week. Now I was cast in a virtual theater production, which is a glow, but also like now I'm gonna need to cut out one of the acting classes because it's like I just can't, you know what I mean? Like I'm a one human being, and I just, which is great too. Like Hallie and I were talking about it in the last podcast. I just joined the theater company she's in, so that's like a weekly thing, and then there's like a couple weeks where I have to like do some social stuff for the company, and that's gonna require work. So I just need to like I need to just be more organized and like outline like what am I doing and what's the priority, and then take out things I don't need. And it's gonna hurt because it's like I like doing those things, but it's like I it's not the same as you in that I try to get enough sleep, but there are some times that I like. Oh, here's an example. Wednesday, I was online for work for like 8 hours, right? And then I had class for like 2.5 hours, and then I had a 15-minute break to grab dinner. I wasn't didn't even I wasn't supposed to have that break, but I told the person in my next meeting I'm gonna be late because I need to grab food. And then I was in another meeting, and then I was online till 10 p.m. So I was online from 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., which is like for you, it's probably normal for your job. But for me, it's like I don't want to be looking at a computer for what was that, 13 hours? Or how many hours is that? Not 13. Yeah. 9 to 10.
Almost. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, 9
It's like
hours.
normal for me.
It's normal for you, but that's not normal, period. Like that's not I try not to be on the computer. Like I already do so much on it. Like what I no. I was like my eyeballs hurt. Like there was a point in the last meeting that I was in that I was trying to pay so much attention, but I'm like it's hard. I was using my brain capacity looking at a computer. Like there's a point where that your productivity and your concentration is just going to drop off. And that was a huge grow because I'm like, that's not supposed to happen. Like either you take that class off if the next meeting was important, or like, I don't know, you just got to make some sacrifices because like you just can't do that, Fran. Um, so that was a grow, but that's like a common thing where it's like every single night I have something and I'm like, you know what? I need a night off. Like I just some days I just want to fucking read. I just want to go to the park and read. Like, is that so much to ask? No. So fucking do it. Fucking do it. I'm talking to myself. So
Yeah. And like I
the
think
grow.
even if it's I know you're still working through which commitments you're going to keep and which ones you aren't. But for those commitments that you still have, like the world is going to keep turning and those people will not die if you just take a day off. You know, like if you tell them, "Hey, I'm sorry, like I know we had our thing today, but I just really need like a day off." I mean,
Yeah.
if you had something big planned, it's going to suck, but at the end of the day, like that's what I tell myself is like I take it to the extreme and I'm like, are these people literally going to die without me? No. So like it's fine. So I
Yeah.
think while you're still in like figuring things out, by all means, I think you should go ahead and take those days off that you feel you need?
Yeah, actually, so listeners, I'm going to Utah to see my family. Don't worry, I'll be safe.
I.e. me.
Yeah, I'm gonna double mask it on the plane, dude. And I'm not even gonna take public transit to the airport. I'm gonna take a Lyft. Like, I don't care if it costs that much. Like, I just don't want to deal with like the
Oh,
virus.
that's good. That's like the safe
Yeah, it's the safest thing.
way.
But anywho, when I get there, I'm gonna tell some people like, hey, I can't do it in September, like the whole month of September. I can't do this because I'm just with family. I'm 2 hours behind you. I just so I think that would be a good also motivator to be like, I'm on vacation. Like I can't do this for September, and then we can check back in October and see if I still want to do it. You know.
Mhm.
So that's another thing. That's a glow. I bought a ticket.
Yay. I think I think I asked you this, but I think the last time I saw you was when you were in London, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so fucking crazy.
Was it? Yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, can you think of
The
a
last
time?
time I saw each other was in another country.
Yeah, that's weird, bro. And that was like when I met Mo for the first time, like because I saw you and then I met Mo
Yeah.
for the
I was
first time a week.
worried AF. I was like, what is she doing? Um,
That's so weird.
yeah, good old days. Okay, let's just move on
Anyway,
because this is getting
yeah,
too long.
sorry guys, we get carried away. But anyway, so
Okay.
yeah, let's talk about travel. I'm like super, super excited for this
Yeah. Oh my
episode because I
God.
really miss traveling.
Me too.
So yeah, so like we've pulled together, we're hoping like this is, I mean, we're gonna go with the flow, obviously, but we're hoping this will be a concrete list of things or life lessons. Yeah, so just so
So
you
we
can,
can number them. You can just be like one, and then we can alternate, just so people can just have clear. Like,
yeah,
here's the
yeah,
first one,
yeah.
first bullet. So you're gonna
Um,
start.
okay, so I guess I'll start. So number one for me, like big life lesson that I learned from traveling, is learning to be spontaneous and going with the flow. So yeah, y'all know that I like my routines, and I guess I'm just a weird person where like I'm type A in a lot of ways, and like my sister knows this. Like I love to clean. I love like a clean, organized surrounding. Like I love to plan, you know. So I have that type A part of me, but there's also this other part of me that just craves like being free and like, yeah, what the fuck? Like got work tomorrow? I don't care. I'm gonna take like 7 week road trip. Like there's also that part of me that's inside, and that's kind of like that part of me that was like wanting to burst out and why I decided to travel for so long or leave for so long. And also like why I didn't return to the States after Morocco and India. I was like, I love this part of me. I want to like get to know her more. Um
Maybe tell people how long you were traveling for.
yeah, so like I mean if you know me, you probably know this already, but so I was like working corporate for like 2 years, 2.5 years, and then I think I was about it's like 24, 25, like that. And I just really felt a calling to just work overseas, to volunteer overseas. And I found a program in Morocco teaching English to adults. It was supposed to be a women's education program, but I was teaching women and men. So, yeah, I went to Morocco for 3 months. I wanted to stay for 6 months, but like my mom was like, no, you're going to die. Like, so I just like shortened it for her because like I didn't want her to like, didn't want to worry her. And then after that, I had planned a trip to India, in Dharamsala, India, which is like the very northern part, for about a month to again work on some education stuff. And yeah, and y'all know like in Morocco, that's where I met my husband, and he kind of changed the course of my plans. And I was supposed to go back to the States after India, but I decided to just go back to the States, get my stuff, and then keep traveling, like with Mo, like who was just my boyfriend at the time. Um, yeah, so like being spontaneous and going with the flow, this was one of my biggest takeaways from traveling, that you know now that I'm back in like the United States and like back with my 9 to 5, I feel like I'm more in touch with like my type A part, just because like I'm balancing a lot of things right now. I mean, all of us are as adults, you know, those adulting things like gotta pay the bills, or like work, and like, you know, and so you I have to like be, and also no offense to Mo, who's not even gonna listen to this, but he sucks at organization and planning. So I'm basically juggling both of our calendars and like making sure he makes his appointments and stuff. And so while I enjoy doing that, it's like very type A. And I have to kind of remind myself of that lesson that I learned from traveling. Like, if things don't work out, You know, if like I have something in my calendar and it doesn't work out, you're going to be okay. Like, kind of like what I was telling you before, like, people won't die. You won't die. You're still going to be okay. And in fact, this road may lead you somewhere that is unexpected, but like is totally like fucking awesome. You know, so it's like when you're traveling, like, I don't know, you booked a bus trip to like this destination, and then the bus, I don't know, never comes, or the bus is totally late, or the bus ends up somewhere else, and you're like, fuck, like my travel plans, and you have like all these expectations of like this perfect day. But like, what would happen if you just changed your mindset and like, okay, this is a different plan than what I had, but let's just see where it takes me. You know, let's see what experience comes from this. And like, so many times having that mindset change what would otherwise be a stressful situation into something really beautiful. You know, like meeting these people that, oh, I never would have met you before, and like making lifelong friends. You know, like in the Philippines, Mo and I stayed at this hostel. It was like kind of shitty, like the electricity wasn't working, and like Mo and I were thinking of leaving. But then like we met this guy that we were sharing a hostel room with, and he was like super cool. And then we ended up meeting his friend because of him, and then we spent just an entire day together. Just this fucking dude that we met. Luke, if you're listening to this, I'm talking about you and Marcio. But yeah, like we just totally met them out of the blue, and we just had a really gorgeous day. So anyway, I'll shut up now, but that's my lesson number one, learning to go with the flow. Learning how to slow down. When I went to the Bahamas, like actually that was something one of the waiters told me, because I was really hungry and I'm like, where's my food? And the waiter was like, you're in the Bahamas.
Yeah, dude. People there are not the same timing
Like
as
the life is
Americans.
slow here. They're like,
Yeah,
just
yeah, exactly. I think that's a good point, actually. In term, like that's part of being spontaneous and going with the flow and flexibility is just knowing that whatever place you're going to, they're not going to be the same pace. Like you just
mm-hmm.
need to not expect similar things that you're expecting at home. Like that's a good little detail. Like how quickly people serve you. It's like I don't know, there's so many examples, but England, they didn't check in on me all the time. In fact, like you have to like really wave at them to be like, I'm done. Or like, can I get some water? Because
I'm
it
done.
makes sense because it's like not a tip. I mean, you can tip there, it's appreciated, but it's not a tipping culture like here. Um, so that's like a little detail where you just can't have the same expectation of like I'm gonna be served quick. It's like in America, it's always like fast. It's like I want results now. Not every place is like that. So I think I that's one of my points. This is like being spontaneous, being flexible, but and it applies to like big things like shit. Like I'm the bus that I booked from this town to this next town that's like 7 hours away didn't come. What do I do? It's important for big things like that, but it's also important for small things like food or like transportation. Like that's it's important to know what the this is just an example. It's important to know what options are available in the place you're going to, but just don't be like this is the only this I gotta catch this bus. If I don't catch this bus, we won't be able to make this event. And if we don't make this event, then we'll be late for this dinner that we booked at this place. Like
Like
you
an all or nothing attitude. Like there's only one
yeah, you
linear
can't
way to
there's
approach.
no linear way. Like honestly, if something can go wrong, it will. So just have that mindset of it. I mean, I don't know if you want that mindset, but I'm just saying like things are not going to go to your plan. They're just not because you're in a different country. Like you're not anywhere familiar. So you can plan all you fucking want. Like it's you're not from that place. So you're not going to know. And that happens that happens all the time, and how you deal with it is the difference. Like I remember traveling, oh my god, sorry. I'm traveled to so many different places. I don't remember where this was. Is it Ireland? I don't know. There was a place where it was like there was like a bus from the airport that went to city. I think it was Amsterdam the first time. Yeah, there was a bus that went from the airport to city center, and there was like that was the only one we knew would go there besides the taxi, which was so expensive because Amsterdam's pretty expensive. And we missed it and we didn't know what to do because like well I don't know. I couldn't read any of the signs. I don't read or speak Dutch. Catherine speaks German, which is kind of similar to Dutch, but not really. So we were both like, when is the next one coming? Like, oh no, how are we going to get to the middle? Luckily, we didn't have any plans. So like, there's no, like, how we reacted to it, like stressing out about it was not going to do anything, because like we're not going to get to the place sooner, and like we had nowhere to get to. But B, like, asking. It's okay to ask around. I don't even know if that's a separate point. But anyway, I'll get to that when I get to that. But just saying, how you react to things is part of going with the flow. You can control that, and just having the expectation that things are not going to go the way you plan is okay. In fact, it's going to help you out. It's going to help you out because then you're going to be like, okay, let's pivot. Like, it'll give you the opportunity to pivot. So yeah, it's like this advice is both practical in that sense, but also like it will open, like you said, it will open you to experiences you never thought you were going to have, like meeting new people and like just for hearing stories you don't expect. Just going to, I remember this one time I went to Barcelona with two of my relatives, and they're the type to like just go to all the touristy places, which like I like sometimes, but I'm more of the type to be like, I don't want to be in a crowded place where like I'm just gonna see this thing for 1 second and then I don't want to stay there. Like, that it's not fun. Like, and like the only places to eat are like McDonald's, like some places that are Americanized food. I'm like, this is not Spain. Like, who cares? And everything's overpriced. So I why did I put that here? So like there was one time I like was like, peace, like you do you, let's meet up later. And so I just walked around. Like, I didn't have an idea. Like, I mean, I had a little idea of the layout of the place, but I just like walked around, explored, because the architecture there is beautiful. And I found this like really cute, really great coffee spot where just people watched, and like just the ambiance was amazing. The coffee was so good. And it was a great place to like observe people. And like I talked to a couple of people, and it was like, it doesn't seem like a Spain thing to do, but it's like, it's your trip. Like, if that's what you need at that point, and that's an experience like that's new for you, like I never had a coffee shop experience like that, like do it. It'll open you up to those kinds of little moments, big moments and small moments like that. So I'll have to say that I agree with that, your first point.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I like how you pulled in some of your travel experiences. I think that's really cool. But yeah, just to sum up that point, and this is coming from a type A person, like I told you, like I love my planners, my calendars, like that is who I am. But I really enjoyed getting in touch with that kind of more go with the flow part of me when I was traveling. And I try to keep that mindset now that I'm back in like my corporate job and whatnot. If things don't go according to plan, I'm still going to be okay. It may open other doors for me that I never would have expected that are still awesome in their own way. So basically, like the lesson of here is no matter what happens, life is still beautiful, you know? And your trip, wherever you travel, is what you make it. If you think your bus not coming is fucking everything up, then you're going to have a shitty fucking day because you chose to look at it that way, you know?
Right.
So yeah, I think that's cool. And like, again,
Yeah.
regardless what country you're in, what situation, this mindset will apply. So
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Agreed.
But I'd be the one that like says the number 2 and then like,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah. This is free.
I don't know.
It's free flow.
Sorry guys, we're organized. This is us trying to be organized.
Free
Okay,
flow.
so number 2 life lesson is we need less than we think. Okay. So like I'll start here. I've not like a hoarder by any means, you know, but I've always been the kind of person where I felt the calling to downsize or minimize. Like um yeah, like I'm not a hoarder. I don't go shopping a lot, but it wouldn't be uncommon for me to be like, why do I have this? Do I really need this? Or like if I'm moving somewhere, like, oh fuck, like why am I packing so many things? Like where did I get this shit? You know? So I would always have those thoughts, and like it wasn't until I started to travel that I really again was able to get in touch of that part of me, of just like becoming more minimalist and only carrying with me what I needed. So obviously because the places I went to were more long term, So I was in Morocco for 3 months and like was doing some serious shit. So like I brought some suitcases, but then when I met Mo and we started traveling to Asia together, so like we went to Malaysia, we went to Thailand, to the Philippines. We took more of the backpacker route. And that was super, super fun. And it was so liberating to not, to like physically not be tied to things, but also like for me, it goes beyond physical. It also like affected me emotionally and mentally, you know, in that it forced me to focus on only the essential things. And I actually like stole that from a quote. So there's a quote that I love. It's by Cesar Pavese. I have the worst pronunciation, but here's his quote: "Nothing is yours except the essential things: air, sleep, dreams, sea, the sky. All things tending towards the eternal, or what we imagine of it." So I love that. It's like everything that is around us, these material things, they will all pass away, like they'll all turn to dust, but what will stay here forever? It's like this fucking earth that's so gorgeous, like the sky is always going to be there, you know, like the moon, like the trees, like this ground that we're walking on, like these things will always be there. And just traveling light and only traveling with a backpack and just the things that I needed, like a book, my toothbrush, like a couple of like shirts, you know, like it's so fun to travel that way because I really was more in tune and more grounded to like just shit that mattered more, you know, because if you think about it, what do I really need to like get through the day? I just need to wash my face and brush my teeth and put some clothes on, like be presentable, you know, some pocket money for food. And then like with makeup, that's another journey for me. I don't know about you, like Fran, but like for me, I was very much attached to makeup when I was growing up. Also because I went through like a punk rock like rocker phase. I was like eyeliner. But like traveling, like I barely wore makeup or like I forgot that I had my makeup bag, and it was so liberating to just not even give a shit about that and just be myself. So yeah, I encourage like our listeners when you're traveling just to go with a backpack. Go with the smallest backpack that you can. Challenge yourself to only bring what you really need. And you may find that you're more in tune with what's around you, that you're more inspired, you're more grounded, and you're more free. You're not tied down to anything. And it's also so much easier to just be mobile, to move around and get places. Like you can all what is it? It's been like so long since I've been in a plane. Check-in versus carry-on. So like you can just carry on. You don't have to worry about that shit. Getting on buses, like crowded buses is super easy. So yeah. So you need less than you think. And I really believe that. Your turn.
Oh, don't you have a third point here?
Oh, did you have something to add to like the whole like
Oh, okay. I don't
minimalist?
know if we were taking turns. Yeah, that's one of my points. I
Okay,
mean,
great.
pack fucking light. I mean, it's really not. It's really a no-brainer. It's like what you said. It's just easier to move around. Less things to worry about. Like less things to like. Sometimes there, like some people have to like lock their like bags that they can't carry in a storage unit in a train station because they can't carry it around, like because they just brought too much. Like yeah, and sometimes hotels don't take or hostels don't keep your luggage before you can check in, like it's stuff like that. And it's really a no-brainer. Just bring what you need because you're gonna be moving around real quick and a lot. Like, I don't really know what to add. And the
Yeah,
only
that's
thing
good.
I will add is that this wasn't really hard for me as a traveler because as people listen who have listened to other episodes of this podcast know, I'm already a minimalist. So like it's really not a big deal for me to pack light. Um I have observed though, like sometimes I've traveled with friends and I'm like, dude, like, why are you bringing so much shit? Like, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna need it, and then we go and it's like they use like 1/8 of the things that they brought, and I'm like, so yeah, it's really just you think. I will say, here's the advice: you're gonna need less than you think. So if you pack and you're like, oh, I'm done, look at it again and be like, you're gonna need probably 2/3 of that or half of that. So just pack and then remove some stuff. Just
And
leave
then
that
you
or
can
move on.
always buy what you need or forgot. And like I keep forgetting that. Like I'm so frantic about like getting everything, but like even toothpaste, comb, whatever, you can get
Yeah.
that in like the country that you land in, that you get to,
Hmm.
or the city that you get to. Like you're gonna be fine. This is like tied to our first lesson. You are gonna be okay. Like it's not life or death.
Right.
So
I mean, if
yeah.
you are gonna be like, oh, what if I really need it? Just think of what you really need, which is like your charger. And just your
Oh,
charger.
that's a good one. I totally forgot that.
Um, just your charger. I mean, even the toothpaste, like, just have bad breath. I'm kidding. Like, I mean, yeah, bring
Dry
that, but like
shampoo,
your charger.
portable battery is perfect for situations like this.
Yeah, like just as long as you have power and things to keep yourself sanitary, like
That's it.
the
Stay
and
clean, stay
money,
charged.
stay clean, stay charged, have a way to get money. That's
Yeah.
really all you really need. If you're coming down to the bare bones, make sure you have those three things first, and then you can be like, okay, do I still need something? Like,
Mhm.
but start with those three.
I
And
like that. Stay clean, stay charged, get some money. Should
okay,
be a
we'll
t-shirt
work on that.
or merch.
Yeah.
Okay, it's your turn.
Then you want to talk about your third point
Oh,
in that
I thought you
same
had like something else.
to add to this? No,
No, no,
but
no,
you
no,
had
like a different.
no, but you had a point under minimalism. You had
Yeah, I
letter
have one
C.
more.
No, but you have letter C. What's it like returning home to the status quo after
Oh.
traveling?
Oh, sorry guys, we're referring from our notes. Yeah, I forgot about that. Um, yeah, so as I said, like when I was traveling, it was just so nice to not be tied down to shit and only having what I needed on my back and like not wearing makeup. And I just encourage, especially like ladies, like just try it, man. It's so fun. Like, who gives a fuck anymore? Why? Why do we wear makeup? But anyway, um, yeah, so like coming back home, um, makeup is just kind of like annoying to me now. Like sometimes like I'll get like acne, like I have a few now, but like who the fuck cares? So like then that's what I'll just use like concealer or something. Or like if I go to work, I try to be like a little more presentable, but even like I'm presentable now. That's the thing. It's like such a society thing. So like makeup has been a big deal for me, and just like I don't wear it a lot anymore, and it's just better for my skin. I also think it's better for our health because whatever we put on our skin, like our skin is our biggest organ, and whatever we put on our skin goes inside. That's just like a
Yeah.
scientific fact. So I just try to be more mindful of like what I am well consuming internally, but also putting on my skin. What else? Just like this apartment, like I don't know if my viewers or our viewers can see, but like we don't have a lot. Like it's just we didn't even get a bed frame. We're so fucking lazy. But also we don't need it. Like there's nothing on our walls, like nothing. And it's just
Yeah.
it's fine. I actually like it, and I like it. I don't know. I prefer to have like just what I need because as I said, it helps me ground into what's important. And also to me, like I told you, I'm a very type A. I like to have a clean environment. And to me, clutter in my environment is clutter in my mind. I'm just that kind of person. And I just, whatever I can eliminate from my physical presence that is not serving me or bringing me joy, that's going to translate to mental clarity for me, So,
Yeah.
yeah, travel helped bring that out of me. I felt like that was already in me to begin with, but like traveling, I really practice that a lot, and I practice that still now that I'm back home.
Yeah, I would say the same. I mean, not really a huge change because I was already like this. And also just having even before traveling, I've just lived in the past like 9 years of my life, 10 years, I've lived in like 8 apartments. Like I've just always been moving around with different people, and I've just learned to like not just accumulate that much shit. Like, and so that carried over into traveling. And when I figured out that that was helpful in traveling, it just, it further solidified the idea that there are things that are more important in life than material things. So not really a change, more of like like an reaffirmation that
Mm-hmm.
there are things that are more valuable than things.
Yep,
So
exactly. Like more focus on experiences than
more
things.
focus on experiences, I think. Yeah, but we can do that for the conclusion. So my next one, 3, is like is really I alluded to in the beginning, which is like we both alluded to it in both points before, but when you get there, make use of what you got there, aka the locals. Like the locals or like people you meet, like you met those people at that hostel, like they probably have some nuggets of knowledge you didn't have, right? Like they were like, oh yeah, we checked out this like place really cool, like no one knew about it. Like you have no idea how many times I discovered new places, new events, like just hidden spots, like things that aren't in the guidebooks, because I like just went and asked the people who are from there, or like people who have already been there, who are not, who don't seem uberly touristy. And it's like I just discovered, like for example, we went to, my friends and I went to Dublin one time, well Dublin and like two other towns in Ireland, and Dublin is a very touristy place. Like there's so, I mean actually a lot of Ireland, it's kind of sad because like the Americans are like there all the time, but which like we were Americans, like I don't know why I'm dissing them.
No, I feel that way too about other
Yeah,
Americans.
I'm like, no, why are you here? But we were like, so we were doing this like tour of like different, like it was like a bar crawl, but it was like music based. It's like every time we went to a bar, I mean I didn't drink every single bar, some people did, but every time you went to a bar, like they would, the people guiding the, they were from Ireland, the people guiding the tour, they would play a song, they were musicians, and then like talk about that bar and like talk about a new factoid about Irish like culture and Irish music, which is really cool. But then with all the places they took us to was like, were like touristy bars, like in the same area of Dublin where all the people went to like, you know, see the popular spots. But then at the end of the tour, like I don't remember which one of us asked the guys, but we were like, do you know a place where it's not like we haven't been to before, where they play good music, like Irish music, not like an Irish bar where they're playing Western, like not Western, I'm sorry, American songs. Like I don't want to go to an Irish bar. I mean, it's in Ireland, so it's an Irish bar, but then they play like covers of American songs. I'm like, what? Why am I here? And so they were like, oh yeah, go to this place. And like we were trying to get there and we're like, oh my God, where are we going? This is like a part of town like we didn't know about, because it looked so sketchy, but it's only sketchy because like it's not in the place where everyone goes. And we almost turned around because we were like, is this safe? Which is like, okay, listeners, just there is a caveat, stay safe. Do enough research that you're safe. But anyway, so we went. And it was so worth it because that bar, while some other Americans did find it, was so legit, dude. It was like Irish music. There were like Irish people like they would stomp and like clap, and there was like a family. It was like a family of musicians playing like Irish music, and it was like a tiny bar. It was like I was like, where am I? This is so cool. Like an American. But like that's an example of like, if we were just like, oh yeah, we experienced Ireland after this tour, like this is great, like we went to Ireland, like we wouldn't have discovered that place, you know. So like don't, which is would have been fine, but like that was so cool to experience that. It's like, no, I have never had, before that point I had never experienced that kind of thing before. So ask the locals. I don't know. It's really self-explanatory. Do you have an example or an addition to that?
I forgot if we asked a local for this, but like when you were talking about how you arrived at that bar and you're like, wow, this is such a legit experience and this is so Ireland. That I was like smiling because it brought to my mind when Mo and I just happened upon this like alleyway cafe with like hookahs and like legit, like the most legit Turkish music ever. This was in Istanbul. And just like, you know how like Turkish people dance, they like link arms and you're like,
Uh-huh.
and it was like totally not within our plans. This is not something we found in a guidebook or whatever. And in fact, Mo and I rarely used guidebooks or even Googled like what to do. I mean, like a couple times, like if we, because Mo and I used to have a vlog channel. So a couple times for our YouTube channel, we would
Oh
try to go
yeah.
to one of these more like high profile places just so we have something to vlog about. But for the most part, how Mo and I like to travel is to just get out there. And if we meet someone and they have a recommendation, as you say, okay, let's check it out because it came from a local and not from this like curated guide, which is nothing against those. I used one of those in Morocco. But yeah, like we happened upon this like the cutest alleyway cafe and like the best Turkish music and like the most awesome like Turkish dancing, which like you don't know what I'm talking about, like Google it. It's so fucking awesome. Like barely anyone spoke English and like it was so fucking awesome. So
Yeah.
yeah, like, and that's something it's like you will only run into those places. I mean, yeah, perhaps like that's something that's in your guidebook, but like those are the gems that you only run into like if you kind of like go off the beaten path. So whether that's like talking to a local or just going out and exploring on your own. And then the
Yeah.
other thing I wanted to build upon your point is like in Morocco, I went through a volunteer program and I saw a lot of other volunteers in my, I guess, cohort kind of like hang out together with the other volunteers because they all spoke English and like there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I made some very good friends from my cohort, but I would say like in a nutshell, most like 80% to 90% of the people I interacted with on a regular basis in Morocco were actual Moroccans. And to me, that made all the difference. It was very tempting to just be like, oh, like my volunteer group is doing this. I'm going to do what they're going to do. Or they're going to, oh, okay, I'm going to join them. I very rarely did that. I kind of just like met a friend through one of my friends in my cohort, but then from him, I met another friend who was like a Moroccan. And then like, I mean, obviously with some help of some apps, but then I just like met all these different kinds of Moroccans and they like, I mean, I didn't go on like an epic like desert tour. And that's the other thing. It's like, maybe this is another point, but it's like, I didn't do like the most epic things. I didn't get to go to Chefchaouen. Unfortunately, I want to go, didn't get to go to the desert, but I still think my experience in Morocco was super rich and so awesome because just the interactions that I made. Like I stayed with 2 host families, a bunch of my friends are Moroccan. Um, and they like took me to their favorite places, which is like so unbeatable. That is nothing you can get from a guidebook. So yeah, I think it's super awesome. I encourage people who are traveling to like, of course, use common sense and don't be like super like trusting of everyone because I did run into like one sketchy guy in Morocco that I regret. But like for the most part, you know, if you use your common sense, you're gonna find that you'll meet some really awesome people and they'll bring experiences to your life that are just unbeatable. Like they're yeah, that you would have only
Yeah.
gotten from meeting them.
I
Basically.
agree. That was actually an addendum to my point that came up
Addendum.
right like when you were talking about that. It's like I like yeah, if you make connections with people safely, totally hang out because like those people know what the real Morocco is, or like what the real city is. Like I was lucky enough when I went to Berlin that my friend Catherine lives there and she knows Germans. So like of course I love guidebooks. Like there are really good, some really good guidebooks out there where like there was one time I was exploring Berlin on my own because or more than one day I was exploring Berlin on my own because Catherine was working during the day. And those guidebooks were so valuable, and also asking locals and the guidebooks, they were valuable. But then like in the evenings, Catherine and her German friends would like take me to so many different places that were not in the guidebooks. And like it's those moments like you know, like it's only the people who live there who are really gonna know what it's like. And if you don't know anyone there and like you don't feel safe, like there are also like really great walking tours conducted by people who have lived there forever or like are from there. And again, Berlin was one where I like actually every city I go to, I usually do walking tours, but like Berlin was one. They're usually pay as you go. And like I did two, like I was so in love with the city. I did two. And like each guide has a different view of Berlin. And it was equally fascinating and equally eye-opening. So if you don't know where to start with a walking tour from that are conducted by locals, and you're helping them because that's some of those people like that's their living. So like you're helping them by giving them money as well. So yeah, that's a
That's a good point. I forgot about walking
top
tours.
tip.
Yeah. Yeah, this is tied to our first point. I know we'll move on, guys, but like I keep finding all these connections because our first point was like going with the flow, right? So, like you said, there's nothing wrong with guidebooks, nothing wrong with these curated lists. Like they're there for a reason. These places are high profile for a reason, but don't be tied to it. Don't believe that this is the only list of things, and if you don't make it to that list of things, you've failed on your trip, or like you didn't get the true whatever experience. You
Yeah.
know, like when I
Hmm.
went to Toronto, like I traveled with a friend who, I mean, I don't know, like that's kind of what it
Dude, that's one
seemed
of my
like.
points. But
It's
okay,
like
no,
he
you can talk
had
about it
like
now.
a list of things, and he was very tied to it, and I just hate traveling that way. Like I said, there's merit to some of those places, and if I feel like it, I'll go, but I like to travel more like organically, I guess. So yeah, don't be tied to like whatever it is. Use it as an aid, but also just be open to real experiences as well. So that's like a
Yeah,
very clear connection to our first point of like being open,
right.
being spontaneous.
These are all really tied together. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Okay, you
you're
can
touching
do.
on a point that I'm gonna have soon.
It's hard to like keep these things separate because
It is hard because they're very related.
yeah.
Do, 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 do.
You can do the next one. I forget
Well,
what number we're
literally my
on.
next one. Oh no, you know what? I'm gonna switch mine. So what number 4, which you alluded to already, is don't go. Don't travel with, like, even if they're your friends. Don't travel with people you think are not great for you to travel with. Like, they might be great friends,
Amen.
but or family. I'm adding family to this. Don't travel with friends or family that, I mean, sometimes you don't really know until you actually travel with them that they're not great to travel with, so that sucks. But
Then it's a
if
lesson
you
learned.
it's a lesson learned. I
Yeah.
learned so many lessons. But if you have a feeling that you're like, oh, like this person is like this in my life, but luckily I only see them when we meet up, then that's probably a hint that they're not going to be great to travel with, because you're going to have to stay with them. You're going to have to spend like 24/7 with them probably when you travel. So then don't travel with them. I don't want to specific examples because, like, I'm still friends with these people.
Yeah,
But
same.
you know what? I'm going to talk about the Barcelona one again because I already mentioned it.
Such a
Um,
loaded trip, this one.
it's not really.
I remember this is also very like you forgot to bring your passport with you to the airport, right? And you had to like quickly go back to your apartment and
No,
get.
that was Berlin.
Oh, really? Oh, I
That
thought it was
was that was
Barcelona.
Berlin second time.
Ah, okay. Never mind.
Uh oh, that was shit. Was that
Yeah, I
Berlin second time?
remember.
That was fucked. I made Oh no, I had to book a second flight. Anyway, that's a different thing. That was really horrible. But no, this Barcelona one, I was studying in London. I'm not gonna see, like, this is easy because I can just see, like, I traveled with 2 family members. I'm not gonna tell you who. Whatever. Um, and as I already mentioned earlier, I decided eventually during the trip that I was gonna separate from them. But okay, long story short, we were only there for like 4 days, but I didn't have they had like specific spots they wanted to hit, which like coincided somewhat with mine. Like, there are places in Barcelona that like are tourist attractions for a reason. It's like the there's like a beautiful church you have to go to there. There's like this big food market that is worth a visit, even though it's full of tourists, because like it's a really great food market. I forgot the names of everything. I'm sorry. Just look it up. But so like so I went with them to some of those places, but then like, like there are things they wanted to do that were like take 50 pictures at the church. And I'm like, I could be doing so many other things right now than take 50 pictures at the church. Or like they wanted to eat. There was this strip of there's this like this is the main street where it's like full of riddled with restaurants that are overpriced. The food is like Spanish food, but it's really not. It's catered towards Westerners. And I'm like, I don't want to eat pa- paella. How do they say it there? Paella. 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 I think they pronounce it differently than Filipinos.
I think it's paella.
Paella. I thought that
Yeah.
was a Filipino pronunciation. Whatever. Paella. But it was like not real paella. Like, you could get it at a different place for cheaper and more authentically. But they wanted to stay at that one strip and eat at all the restaurants in that one strip and pay twice the amount. And I just was not down with that. I'm like, I want to experience real Barcelona food and not pay a fortune for it. I like not down with this. So like, I mean, it was a lesson learned, but at a certain point I was like, I'm willing to travel with you guys to some of these places, like a cafe or whatever, because I also knew some Spanish, so it really helped. Because there was one time they didn't know where they were going on the bus, and I had to like do some really basic Spanish with it, like really not a great conversation because my Spanish is not great, but I knew way more than them, so they didn't get lost. But at a certain point, I was like, I can't just help you with Spanish and eat at places that I don't want to go to and like take 50 pictures at one spot that like who cares. So I had to make an executive decision at that point to be like, I'll spend some time with you in the beginning of the day, but then we're gonna agree to disagree and separate, and then I'm just gonna do my own. Like they were also the type to like not like walking tours because they're like, oh, but we could just take 50 pictures at the one spot. Like, no, we're not gonna agree. So, but that was a lesson learned. But anyway, if you know that the people you're might travel with have those tendencies and you're not like that, or like if you're the opposite and you're like that and the other person's not, don't travel with them. Like I know they're your friend, but like or whatever, like they're a cool family member, but like that's just because they're cool in your daily life, they're not going to be cool when you travel with them. Trust me. um you're not going to regret it not traveling with them.
Yeah,
I've
travel can be like a hi, the small cameo. So yeah, travel can be like a physically taxing experience and also emotionally, mentally, whatever. So yeah, like being mindful of who you choose to spend your time with, like for I don't know, like even just that plane flight alone. Aw, are you leaving? Bye. Love you. Yeah, like be mindful of who you're with. It's just going to make your whole experience so much better. And again, not to throw shade on these people who do want to take 50 photos or whatever. It's just everyone has a different style. Everyone has different priorities when they travel. You know, like I felt the
yeah
same way when I was in Iceland and I was at this beautiful, like just fucking beautiful waterfall. It's like one of those places where you literally lose your words. It was so gorgeous. And I was like trying to get a good view of it, but there were these three girls just taking literally 60 selfies in front of it. And I'm like, can you get out of the way so I can look at this waterfall? And like no shade to them, if that's how they want to spend their time, that's fine, but don't, like, you can control that aspect, I guess, of your travel experience, because we just talked a lot about things we can't control, right? And being open to it. Well, you can control that. You can choose who to spend your time with. But I guess to that point, that's why I encourage listeners and especially women to try traveling solo. You know, it's great to travel with friends, and like I said, a bunch of my experiences have been with Mo, my husband. And thankfully we travel like we have like we just get along so well, like we travel perfectly together. But I encourage listeners, especially women, to travel solo, just because it's just so nice to like spend time with yourself. You don't have to like argue with anyone about like, oh, I want to like go here, but I want to go here. It's like you do whatever the fuck you want. And also it's so empowering. And also like you just learn a lot about yourself. You know, like for me, like before I traveled solo, like I thought I was just forever directionally challenged and just incapable and inadequate. And I still am directionally challenged, but now it's like, yeah, like I kind of suck with directions, but I also know I have the ability to make it through. You know, that Winnie the Pooh quote that I keep coming back to, like I'm stronger than I think, I'm smarter than I think. And travel, especially solo travel, will reveal those things to you. You know, so yeah, so being mindful of who you travel with, but also go and try and travel solo, because it's just such an empowering and rewarding experience.
yeah yeah it's empowering, and it actually makes you a more resilient person just in your day-to-day life. I think like when you said that Winnie the Pooh quote, it's like I didn't know I could do certain things when I was traveling, and I'm like, oh, I have that capability. And then you just carry it over into your, like there are some skills you pick up traveling alone that you like really helps you out um
Mm-hmm.
in your day-to-day life. So yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally. um
What number are we on now?
5. I think 5 is just like a catch-all because I'm just gonna combine them because they're really basic. They're really just tips. Um, Number 5 for me is just know where you're going to. I mean, it's great to be flexible, but don't just go, I want to go to name was I want to go to Istanbul and then just go. I mean, it's great. That's like props to you if like that's how you travel and you're gonna be successful. That's actually great. You know, if you want to do that, that's fine. But I think for me, I do want to know like what's the currency there? Where are the ATMs maybe, or like know how to say ATMs, or like know like basically like a basic, oh, this is the town I'm in, and then like this is the train station, and then this is the airport. Like kind of just know, and then kind of just know how to get from the airport to where your city center. At least know like, okay, from airport to city center it takes 30 minutes by bus, 15 minutes by cab. Like just kind of just know that. um uh know where things generally are, is I guess is that tip, combined with, I don't know if you'll agree with me on this. Yeah, hostels are great. Like I met people at hostels, but if you can afford like a hostel room where you're not sharing it, just do it, or you're not sharing the room. Like, I don't know. I mean, if you want to share with like 6 other people, like, more power to you. But if you can afford a better accommodation, I think that's just one less thing to worry about. Like, you're not worrying about your shit. You're not worried like when you get home from a tiring day of like who knows what happened that day. At least you know that when you're staying, it's like, if you can't afford it, of course go to a hostel, like, or couch surf. Like, yeah, but there's just less worry if you can afford an accommodation that's like, is reliable, is safe. I don't know. I just have had both experiences, and I've just had a happier experience. Of course, not everyone has this privilege, but if you do, I'm guessing if you're listening to this podcast, you can afford it. I don't know. I have a feeling. So, yeah, those are it's a catch-all tip. Catch-all tip.
Oh my gosh, you like touched on so many things, and I'm just going to talk about 2 of them. So yeah, I think the first beginning of that was when you're talking about like know the place that you're going, do at least the basic level of research, because I know like we
Yeah.
kind of like touch on all ends of the spectrum. On one hand, we're like stay open, stay spontaneous, don't be too rigid, but use common sense. And that's like the fun part of travel. It's like finding that balance. So I totally agree with you about doing your research. And I have like the best example of that was like before we went to South Korea. It was totally fucking impromptu. Like everything you just said, I kind of felt targeted because you're like, at least know this. And I'm like, we didn't even know fucking anything. We just knew the currency. Like that fucking it. Like not even a word, like consamida, that's it. But the reason why I bring this up is especially if you are planning to travel for work or for volunteer. And like if you're a listener and you want to explore that more, I have a lot of experience with that. That's been most of my travels is volunteering and working overseas. So definitely hit me up. But I was planning to go to Korea for work. I wanted to be a teacher, and I grossly, like, not even grossly underestimated. I didn't know anything about, didn't research at all what that process would be like to get that visa cleared to be a teacher in Korea. I was expecting to be like, oh, I remember when I got my job in Istanbul, just like that. I can do it anywhere because I'm confident in myself, you know? So when we went to Korea, I was expecting to land the job right away. No, like a lot the visa process if you want to be a teacher in Korea will take at least like a couple months because you have to secure a lot of documents. You probably have to fly those documents from the country, and that's why they advise you clear your visa first before you enter the country you're going to work in. I did it the other way around. I entered Korea first, and so I had to figure all that shit out, and it was super stressful. So like I like slamming my hands because I totally agree with that. And if I could do the experience over again, I would have been more mindful with my research, and like especially if you're going to go in for work, because you don't want to add that stress on yourself. And then the other
Yeah.
thing you touched on was like, I guess it's like respecting your travel style and your needs, and like if you can't afford a single room, go for it. And like for me, I don't know how to articulate this, but like I told you guys about how I kind of fell in love with that like backpacker life and like traveling with like just a toothbrush and a shirt and like just really loving that. But then also like I guess comparing, and I guess I have a comparison problem. That also translates to like my traveling life because like I would compare myself to other people of um like, oh my gosh, like this dude's a backpacker and he's like doing it so well, and like he's like staying in like hostels all the time. He can fucking sleep on a dirt floor and be totally fine. What a fucking badass. And like I would compare myself to that guy, to that backpacker, and then I'd like feel inadequate or like lame if I needed like if I felt like I needed a hotel room one night because I just couldn't handle another fucking hostel, you know? Yeah, I guess that's my tip is like respect your traveling style and respect your needs. Everyone has their own style. You don't need to compare yourself to anyone else. Just because that
Yeah.
guy's like a super cool backpacking dude and he pees in a cup and he's, yeah, you don't have to be like that guy. And for me, like I'm grateful that I've experienced the mix of things. Like I've stayed in hostels and loved it sometimes I've hated it. Stayed in guest houses, stayed in hotels, Airbnbs, and that's the fun of travel is like discovering those things about yourself and respecting your needs, because there may be one time or one trip when a hostel is fine for you, but maybe another time you need something like an apartment or an Airbnb. And so respecting that, not comparing your experience to others. Another thing is like in Morocco, if I was to tell people like what I did, I think there would be some people that would say, oh, that's not like the best experience. Like most of your time was teaching in Rabat. You went to Casablanca and like Tangier and like, but you didn't get to go to Chefchaouen. You didn't like ride a camel in the Sahara, not the Sahara, sorry, in the desert, you know? But why? Who the fuck cares? Like I had my own experience in Morocco that was mine. I have family there now. I can always go back, and I basically like crafted my own experience that was right for me and that resonated for me. And you don't need to compare it with anyone else. And that's the beauty of it. That's the beauty of travel is it's yours and you can make
Yeah.
it what it is. So yeah, that
Yeah.
was a lot, but that's what resonated with me from what you said.
Yeah. I think the work thing is such a special
Yeah, that's like
case.
a particular case.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, especially needs research. But even, which I think it just goes back to this point that even a light 4-day trip to Barcelona, you're just gonna need to do research, like, because not everyone. I mean, a lot of people speak English, but not a lot of people speak. There are a lot of people who don't speak English there. Like surprisingly, a lot of people didn't speak English there. So just knowing some basic research on basic words that you're gonna need to know. Especially if you have like a special diet like mine, like knowing how to say, no dairy, like is important. Just like just do your due diligence, the bare minimum. And yeah, I like how you summarize that. Respect your needs. Like I can sleep on a dirt floor. Do I want to? If I can afford not to? No, I don't want to. So yeah, I can pee in a cup, but do I want to? If I
Yeah,
can
like
afford
you're
not to?
traveling for yourself, not to prove something to other people.
Yeah,
Like
you
you
don't
have
have
that perfect
anything to prove.
Instagram post, like, oh, look at me, like I'm
Exactly.
such a badass backpacker. No one
Yeah.
fucking cares,
Right.
You're
Yeah,
traveling for you,
exactly.
not for other people, basically.
Exactly. Like if you need to pee in a cup, do it if you need to. But like if you're just doing it to prove something, like then you're not
Yeah,
traveling right.
exactly.
Um
Exactly.
okay, I think we can
Good
go to
stuff.
our final one. I think yours 6.
Yeah, so number 6, and I guess maybe related to our point on like being open to people and conversing with them, and opening our experiences to them, is my number 6. One of my big lessons from traveling is that realization that we are all the same. And what I mean by that is like regardless of your country, regardless of your culture, your age, like inside all of us, we're all humans. We're all connected. We all want the same things. We all want love. We all want acceptance. We all want, I don't know, those awesome life experiences. And I think just remembering this truth will change the way that you travel and just will change the lens that you experience travel, because like I said, traveling can be very physically exhausting. It can be irritating. It's not always perfect. Things will go wrong, as we said. And I don't know, someone may annoy you, whether it's a local or the friend that you're traveling with, but just reminding yourself, like, hey, like, where is this really coming from? What is this person wanting? And just realizing that you are the same. Like, I don't know, a good example is like maybe you arrive at your hostel and you wanted like this particular room, and then the hostel worker says, I'm sorry, we don't have that, like it's just like, and then you take out your anger on the person. Is it really their fault? Like they're just doing their job. So just like when you're back home in the States or wherever, when you're just doing your job, like this person is just doing their job too. Like be kind with them, be compassionate, be empathetic. So yeah, that's what I mean by we're all the same, and just remembering that truth and remembering that regardless where you are, the people that come in and out of your life, regardless whether you speak the same language, you're all the same. When I stayed with my first host family in Rabat, the girls barely spoke any English and they could barely speak French, which sucked because I only knew, like, I didn't know any Arabic, so I was hoping to converse with them in French. But we still made a strong connection, and you don't need to like speak the same language to connect, because we're all the same inside and we all want the same things. And yeah, that's, I don't know like how to elaborate that, but that's what I hope that's making sense to you guys.
No, I think that makes sense. I think having that, keeping that in mind when you're traveling is just gonna make your traveling more meaningful. Like, there's nothing wrong with traveling to just like lie down on the beach and just de-stress. Like, that's one form of traveling. But if you're traveling, like if you're doing something extensive, like, you were talking about backpacking, or like you're traveling to multiple cities to learn more, or you're a foodie and you want to learn more about different cuisines, keeping in mind that it's like you're also there to meet people with stories that are both different and similar to yours. Like, we're all human beings with like human needs, and just keeping that in mind is just going to make your trip more meaningful, and not just like, oh, I didn't get a picture with this statue that I really wanted to. So yeah, I agree. I don't really know what to add, but like, yeah, honestly, like, it's just gonna make there's more of a point to traveling than just getting a picture and like putting it on your
Exactly.
Instagram. Yeah,
Wow.
the end.
Yay. That was fun.
Yay.
It was nice to like think about those memories.
I miss
Me
traveling.
too.
But it's not over yet. Wait, do you want to take a break?
I will in a sec because Mosey's in the bathroom, so I'm just kind of like dancing because I need to pee, but I'll get
Okay,
to
well, can we take a break still though?
Okay.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, break. Welcome back, everyone. We are now at the What We're Loving This Week segment, but what's special about this one is that it's travel edition. So it's really what we're loving for traveling, or this week that's good for traveling, either one. So I'm going to start. I already went off about this with Meg and everyone else that I know. But Taylor Swift just dropped a new album called Folklore, lowercase f. And she did it in fucking April, May, June, July. Like 4 fucking months. She did it in secret, 4 months. She worked with Aaron Dresner from The National. Bon Iver makes an appearance. And I don't know what to tell you guys. It's a good road trip album. Or like if you're I listened to it. I told Meg I listened to it when there's a forest in my park, and I listened to it as the soundtrack to my walks. And it's not called folklore for no reason. Folklore. It's like it's not really folk. It's like folk alternative. There's a lot of different influences in there. You'll hear it. It's very different influences though from what she usually draws from. So I don't really know what to tell you guys. Just listen to it. I don't need to go on about it. There's so many articles out there, think pieces on it. Read those. Don't listen to me, but I'm telling you, it's a good road trip album. B, I said 1, right? 2, the City Mapper app. It doesn't apply to all cities, but it applies to a lot of major cities. Like, City Mapper has come in clutch. Like, it works here, it works in London, it worked in Amsterdam, worked in Berlin. It like at least in the European countries it went to. I'm not sure. I feel like they've expanded. Look it up. But City Mapper tells you like stuff that Google Maps doesn't. Like, in terms of like even like public transit, if something's like shut down at certain hours, or like there's a faster way to get there because like there's something blocking a certain place, it is like pretty up to date. And if y'all know a different app that's out there that I've never heard about, let me know. But City Mapper is like fucking ace. Okay, number 3, last one. Attaché city travel guides. If you Google attaché city travel guides, they have like a whole playlist of like major cities all over the world. They're like between 7 to 10 minutes long. They're quick and dirty guides to like those cities. They're funny. They're really well produced. You get like the quick things you need to know, like what the currency is, what the exchange rate to the dollar, the US dollar is tipping happening there? How do you get from the airport to city center the easiest and the cheapest, or for the most value, where to stay, where to get food, like so many tips in like the span of 10 minutes. Really useful to start if you really only have time. We were talking about basic research. If you only have time for like 10 minutes of research, which is not true, but if you only have time for 10 minutes of research, start with that and you'll get so much more detailed than just like going. That's it.
Great. Okay, so for me, I also have 3, except my third one is kind of like a cluster of things, but I'm just saying I have 3
Yeah,
things.
that's a lot.
Um, okay, so my first one, so these are all again like travel inspired or things or apps that I've used in travel that I recommend. So the first one is a book. I've already told Fran about it like so many times, but I adore this book so much. It's called Wreck and Order by Hannah Tennant Moore. And the funny thing is, if you go on Goodreads, this book got horrible reviews. It's like, oh, this woman sucks. I cannot relate to this character. She's like a white, like privileged, like blah, blah, blah. I fucking loved it. It's so good, and I've reread it. Reread it like so many times, and just Hannah Tennant Moore's writing is beautiful, and it's like the kind of writing I wish I could produce, or like the kind of writing I aspire to. If I were to write a book, if it turned out like that, I can die happy. Like it's great. And so basically, it's about a woman who's fucked up. Like she just has a lot of issues. Like she has relationship problems. She has like self-esteem problems. She like tries to travel to like find herself, but she doesn't, which is like my favorite part of the book, because like that's a cliche you see a lot, right, in movies. Like you travel and you find yourself and it's a happy ending. It's not like this with this book. Everything is fucking messy from beginning to end. She goes to Paris. She tries to find herself. She's like, yeah, I think like if I translate a book from French to English, like, oh, that's it. Like that's my purpose. She spends like 10 years of her life trying to translate this one book, and she never finishes, and she doesn't by the end of the book. She goes to Sri Lanka to like kind of escape her life in the States, because she gets into like all these kind of like semi-abusive relationships with guys, which like I felt very strongly to that. I connected with that a lot. So she goes to Sri Lanka and she like does the whole like backpacker life, and like she's like again like hoping to find herself. She like meets these awesome people. They come and go. So it's like what I love about it, it's like it's slivers of inspiration and slivers of things that like are kind of clues to her of like where she needs to go, like life giving her hints. But what I love about it is there's not a clean bow at the end. She's still fucked up at the end, but she's like slightly less fucked up. So yeah, I love it. Just I'm sorry I can't give like a summary, but it's just really beautifully written.
I wonder
And
why
just to
people
give you
hated
like,
it.
yeah, they're like, oh, she's like white and privileged. Well, fuck you. One of my favorite quotes in the book is this. The mistake is always the same, trying to live the life one has in one's head instead of the life before one, which is endlessly generous if you humble yourself to it as the only possible means of fulfillment. That's from that book. Oh, it's so good. Okay, my second like thing that I'm loving or have loved is, y'all know I'm a big fan of Major Lazer, of Diplo, like fucking love them. They have this song called Stay Open, and it's just great. I love that song, and I thought it tied very well to our first travel lesson of staying open and staying spontaneous. And that's basically what the song's about. Like, you know, like if you feel like doors are closing or things are not turning out the way you want to, just stay open and you'll find there's more color to life than you think. And it's just a fucking good song because it's Diplo produced it. So that's my number 2. And then my number 3 is like my cluster of travel apps that I loved, like things that I couldn't live without while traveling. And so like if you're looking to travel soon and perhaps you've never heard of these before, hopefully you have, like I encourage you to download them because they'll help you. So number 1, like everyone's heard of this, I'm sure, but XE, the currency converter, like just freaking lifesaver. I love it. And I like how you can have like, I think up to 5 or 6 different currencies up on the screen at one time, right? So it's like you can
I don't
like, if
know.
you're like, oh, what does $1 translate to in like Turkish lira or like a Korean won or whatever? It's just very quick and easy and very simple to use. So I like that. And I believe it works offline too. Yeah, I think it does. I
I
think it
hope
works
so,
off.
because you're not always gonna have internet
Yeah, as
connection.
long as like you make sure you have the latest rates, then it should work offline. Well, I'm sweating like a horse. All right, next is like
Yeah, me too.
Hostel World and Airbnb. Those are like my top 2 faves for finding lodging. I just love Airbnb. It's great, and also just yeah, hostels. Again, like if you feel like that's something you can handle or if it's right for your travel needs, that's a pretty good website. Momondo is a great flight aggregator. I know there's also Skyscanner, right? But I
Yeah,
like Momondo.
Skyscanner.
Yeah, Skyscanner and Momondo. I usually use those two interchangeably when I'm trying to find flights. Um, a newsletter that I highly recommend people subscribe to is the Flight Deal Daily. Well, the Flight Deal Daily Deals letter. I don't know if there's a typo there, but it's basically like a weekly newsletter that they send to you, just like really cheap steals of domestic flights within the United States. No, not just domestic. Yeah, domestic and some international ones. So like for instance, I saw this one from I forget where in the States. I think New York to Marrakesh, like Morocco, for like round trip, super cheap, like less than 300.
Damn,
Yeah,
that's
so
cheap.
like really cheap deals. And then the last one is couch surfing. I know most people think of that as a lodging app, which is like a lot of people are scared by. I know I certainly was. Like you're basically staying with someone for free. But I use that app mainly to just meet people and to hang out with them. So you don't have to use it for lodging. You can just say, hey, I'm in, I don't know, Barcelona. You pin yourself as like where you are, and then you kind of like make a notification for everyone using the app, like, hey, I'm in Barcelona, I'm American, I'm looking to, and then you fill in the blank. I'm looking to smoke hookah, I'm looking to club, I'm looking to hang out. And then people who see that ad who want to respond can respond to you. And then you can take it from there. And that's how I met my husband. Okay,
Oh,
those are my 3 things that I'm loving, and I hope that y'all will use some of them because they're awesome.
yay.
Yay.
Okay. Quote of the day from Meg. Well, I'm gonna read it and then Meg can talk about it because she suggested them. There's 2. The first one, if it doesn't challenge you, it doesn't change you. The second one, outside your comfort zone is the only place worth living. Whoa.
Yeah,
I
so again,
mean,
it's like very cliche. We've all heard like, oh, life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And like, I feel like it's something people hear a lot, but I feel like travel, especially like all the things we've talked about, like staying open, traveling while respecting your needs, like all those things we talked about, I think travel is a good embodiment of that quote because it really does force you to get outside of your comfort zone. Because like you said, like you'll oftentimes not speak the language. The culture will be really different. If you're traveling solo, it's like you're all alone and you only have yourself to depend on. So, but then at the same time, you learn a lot about yourself and you learn a lot about other people. And those are very priceless life lessons that you can't ever get like in a classroom. So that's why I like any quote about getting outside of your comfort zone because it's true. You don't grow or make progress inside your comfort zone. That's not how any progress in society happens, right? I mean, think about
right.
it. Has any progress or invention ever happened from someone sitting on a couch like, I'm comfortable right now? No.
No.
Everything came from hardship. And so that's why I
Yeah,
like
I think I agree. I mentioned this earlier in the podcast, but I was just like being flexible just makes when traveling makes you more resilient in life. You just have that
yeah.
elasticity to deal with different things and you don't get stressed out as much because you've dealt with so many random things when you travel and that carries over like when you are a little bit more comfortable in your day-to-day life and then something crazy happens and you're like, you know what? Keep it in perspective because you've kept it in perspective when you were traveling. So, yeah, totally. You want to be changed. You want to be elastic. You want to be resilient. Um,
And my last nugget of inspiration for listeners before we close the podcast. So I forget which YouTuber this was, but this was like, I think before, after I traveled to India. So I was curious to hear other people's stories. I was watching this video of like this YouTuber traveler who was taking, I think, an all-day train trip, like 24-hour train trip from one city in India to another. And she had eaten something right before the train trip that basically gave her food poisoning, and she had diarrhea for the entire trip. But there were like there were either no bathrooms or just like really shitty bathrooms. Basically, the bathroom situation on the train was not good, to the point that like out of pure desperation, she had to shit inside like plastic bags and hide those bags and like very discreetly chuck them out of the train throughout the entire trip. This is like a crowded Indian train, fucking hot, no AC, 24 hours, food poisoning, diarrhea. This
Holy
woman made it through, and she had the
shit.
courage to tell her story on YouTube. And she got so much respect in the comments, like, wow.
Dude, that's
I
like
don't know
the
what I,
worst travel experience I've ever heard.
but like, you know what? She
That's
told the story, she told it with such humor. And she was like, yeah, like after that experience, I can go through anything.
exactly. I mean, that's an extreme, but that's wild.
Yeah.
Oh my
I wish I'll try to find
God.
it so you can watch it, but it's crazy. She literally shit in bags, like not even shit, like diarrhea shit.
That's even worse shit. That's like harder shit to control.
Sorry,
Fuck.
listeners, if that's not what you wanted, but just try to make it
Whatever.
funny.
This is traveling. This is, you got to deal
This
with the
is traveling,
reality.
man. In the words of Anthony Bourdain, I can't quote verbatim, but he said, "Travel isn't always pretty." I
That's a
believe
good quote.
Anthony.
There's another Anthony Bourdain quote too that's more relevant to your quote of the day, but I can't remember it. But the end of that quote is there's no final resting place of the mind. Um, yeah, R.I.P. Tony Bourdain.
Yeah. Oh, I kind of want
He,
to watch an
he's
episode of
the
it.
goat. Okay, so let's go to socials. Let's just keep this rolling.
Am I doing that?
Yes, you always do
Oh,
it.
okay. I don't know. All right. So if you want to find us and talk to us some more or share your own travel stories, again, like we'd love to hear from you. We're not the only two like peeps on this earth. We really encourage you
We're
to
not.
share this with us. So you can find us on Instagram at deepconvospod. There's no cast. If you have like some longer travel stories, by all means, send them our way. You can email us at deepconvospodcast at at gmail.com. And if you want to reach out to us personally, I'm at meg.sales.14 and my sister is at Fran Sales.
Mwah. And that's it. That's all we got, folks. We'll talk to you on
And
it's
guys, we know you're in quarantine, but come on, get out and do like a very safe, wear your mask, but yeah, try and go out and explore a new place in your town.
yeah. I'm gonna close it with this. The park next to me is huge. It's Prospect Park. And there are parts of it that I just discovered this week because I made myself go further. So just go a little further within reason.
Mm-hmm.
Stay safe. Within reason. Okay, and on that
Yeah.
note, we're gonna close it there in 3, 2, 1.
Bye.
Bye.